I got revenge on my cheating husband. I found out my husband cheated on me in November. I have known this man since I was 5, we were best friends forever, and now we have been married for 5 years. He decided he wanted a divorce, but 2 months ago, he came crawling back and asked for another chance. I said okay. Little does he know, I am saving $500 every month on his dime so that I can eventually leave him. Little does he know, I am losing weight and getting my body in the best shape of its life, for my future person, who will never take me for granted. Little does he know, I made a fake profile on Snapchat and added his father. His father is now cheating on his mother, with me. Once I leave, I will be sending all the screenshots to his mother. Normally, I would not bring anyone else into this, but she decided I was in the wrong for her son cheating on me. Won't it be ironic? Little does he know, I already spoke to my rental manager and signed a contract to leave the apartment, which is in my name, this December, the same week he will be gone on a trip. Won't it be funny when he comes back to new locks, his wife missing, his stuff in the dumpster, and nowhere to live? Oh, and did I mention that his dream car is in my name because I had better credit? But don't worry, I have already started the process of selling it, and it will be towed to California that same week while he is on vacation. I will never let anyone play me for a fool again. And I certainly will not let someone cheat on me and leave me, only to come back and treat me as a second option. Who said revenge isn't sweet? My fiancé wants me to get rid of my cats. My fiancé isn't emotionally receptive and isn't willing to change. I, 28 female, and my fiancé, 29 female, have been together for almost 7 years. We have 2 cats, a dog, and a 2-bedroom apartment. My fiancé has had issues with my cat since we started dating. She didn't grow up with them, and her family doesn't like them. I, on the other hand, grew up with a lot of animals and see my pets as part of the family. Recently, she told me the cats are too much and that she doesn't want them as part of her life. She says if I don't get rid of them, she might want to stay somewhere else. I will not get rid of them. My oldest is 9, and I've had him since he was a baby. I don't have much time left with him, and I refuse to abandon him. Do you think this request is just an excuse to leave the relationship, or is she trying to shape it to cater only to her wants? We're expected to help because we don't have kids. We just spent a weekend with family. We are the only couple who do not have kids. We were in a cabin with 6 children. 2 of these toddlers have major attachment issues and scream for their parents if they are not being held by mom or dad. The whole weekend revolved around these 2. My husband and I were constantly given tasks to help with them, including babysitting while their mom looked after the other kid. The youngest was put down for naps in the common area, and we were constantly being told to be quiet so we did not wake him. We barely had time to ourselves. We wanted to get away for a hike or swim in the lake, but that never happened. The cherry on top was at the airport. My husband and I ran ahead and got through security to get some alone time. There was an issue at security with mom and dad, so my sister spotted us sitting with our luggage and yelled at us to come help. My husband ran off while I grabbed our luggage to see what the issue was. She left my husband with a bunch of bags, 2 screaming toddlers, and a stroller, and then disappeared. I came to his rescue, grabbed the loudest kid, and tried to calm him. We ended up waiting for 15 minutes with 2 screaming banshees while getting dirty looks from everyone. My brother-in-law came through, profusely apologized, and took the kids. My sister came through and barked orders for me to find snacks for the kids since their flight was boarding soon. It is completely unfair to rope us into looking after kids that are not our responsibility. One old lady even came up to us afterward and asked if we were okay and if we knew those kids. I laughed and said I was their auntie. She gave me this pitiful look. The kids are not well behaved, have attachment issues, and throw tantrums constantly. Thank God we were on a different flight. Afterward, my husband told me he is having second thoughts about kids, and to be honest, so am I. We have another big family trip in December. It is a cruise. My sister asked what flight we are taking so we can help. My husband and I are making an action plan to make ourselves scarce. We will be booking a separate flight. Update: my sister is now asking if we can book our flight in the afternoon to help her with the kids. We booked the earliest flight possible and will not be telling her when. Edit: the upcoming cruise is a gift from my parents, as they want the whole family to be together. We paid for our own flights, however. Final update: I am not going on the cruise now because I am pregnant and will be past the allowable date for travel. Instead, we will be enjoying a calm, child-free Christmas at home, our last one before our own kid arrives. I have since been asked to babysit and help out, and I have declined. This experience has made me reflect on how I want to parent my child. I vow to not be an entitled parent and to take full ownership and responsibility with my husband. I accidentally ruined my best friend's wedding. Okay, so here goes. I, 27 female, need to confess something that happened recently, and honestly, I still can't believe it. My best friend, Sarah, 29 female, got married last month. I was the maid of honor, and I was supposed to be her right-hand woman. But long story short, I ended up doing something that I can't undo. The night before the wedding, we had a small rehearsal dinner, and Sarah asked me to give a toast. Now, I don't drink much, but I had a couple of glasses of wine, and to be honest, I was a bit tipsy by the time it was my turn to speak. I don't remember much of my speech except that I started talking about how Sarah and her fiancé, Jake, 32 male, had this perfect relationship, how proud I was of her, and how we were all so lucky to be there celebrating. At some point, I thought it would be funny to share a story about Sarah's ex, a guy she dated in college who she was totally in love with before Jake came into the picture. I don't know what came over me, but I started talking about how she used to say that she would never find someone who made her feel the way that ex's name A did, and how Jake somehow made her forget about him. There was silence. Complete silence. Sarah's face turned bright red, and I realized I might have crossed a line. But by then, it was too late. People were looking at me weird, and I swear I heard Sarah's mom whisper, "This is not okay." The worst part? Her wedding day was the next morning. I spent the whole night texting her, apologizing over and over. She didn't respond. She didn't even acknowledge me when I showed up for the wedding. The ceremony went fine, but during the reception, Sarah barely spoke to me. It was clear I had made her feel awful. I tried to fix it by apologizing again, but she told me that I had ruined the day for her and that I had made her question everything about our friendship. She said I should have never brought up her ex. I still feel absolutely terrible. I have been trying to make it right, but it's like I've lost my best friend, and I have no idea how to get her back. I'm ashamed of myself and can't stop thinking about how I messed up. My sister thinks it's okay to bring her kids to my house, unannounced, and let them trash the place. I love my sister and her kids, but lately, she's been showing up at my house without warning, expecting me to entertain her two young kids, ages 5 and 7. At first, I didn't mind too much, family time is important, right? But it's gotten out of hand. Just last week, she dropped by with the kids while I was in the middle of working from home. She didn't even knock, she just walked in. I tried to explain that I needed to focus on my work, but she shrugged it off and said, "They'll be fine. Just let them play." By the time they left, my living room looked like a tornado hit it. There were toys everywhere, snacks spilled on the floor, and a crayon masterpiece on my walls that I'm still trying to scrub off. I told her I wasn't comfortable with them coming over without giving me a heads up and asked if she could at least call first in the future. She got defensive, saying I was being too uptight and that kids are just being kids. Now I'm feeling guilty for wanting to set boundaries. How do you handle a situation like this without coming off as the bad guy? Edit. Thanks for the insight, guys. I'll take note of your advice. It's sad to see that a lot of people have also experienced similar situations to mine. My husband's affair partner passed away and it seems like I'm expected to give a reaction. We had been married for over a decade, but at some point, I found out he had been cheating on me for 3 years with an ex, his first love, whose parents did not let them get married. She even tried to break up our wedding, and his whole family kept that a secret from me until the affair was exposed. To keep it short, a lot went down. She said some really vicious and awful things to me. She absolutely hated me and believed I did not deserve her man, calling me ugly, and so much worse. Despite everything, we stayed together for the kids. I am still healing, and I do not think my love for my husband will ever be the same, but I chose to forgive and maintain normalcy for the sake of my children. Things are going okay. However, I was informed by a mutual friend that the woman passed away a few days ago. We are all under 35, so it is definitely shocking. The person who told me knows the hell I went through and the emotional turmoil it caused me. But since they have never been cheated on, they cannot fully understand how it feels. They kept going on about how bizarre it is, how terrible they feel, and asking me if I am okay. I am not sure if they are genuinely concerned or just trying to get a reaction out of me. I have no emotional ties to this woman, nor do I feel I owe her anything. My husband found out this morning and said something like, "Well, you're probably not sad." I responded, "If you had left me for her and then you got news like this, would you expect her to be sad for me? Am I the bad person for not being devastated or even really that upset?" He literally left the house, leaving me with 2 screaming kids, just to make a private phone call to her brother-in-law to find out what happened. Is that not supposed to get under my skin?
What's something 99% of people do wrong, but have no idea?
Argue. Modern media has shown us that being loud and throwing accusations around is the best way to argue. The amount of fallacies and angry vibes that I encounter when just trying to make a point is ridiculous. I see and hear a ton of red herring and straw man arguments, people not responding to actual claims being made, preferring to go off on tangents they themselves created. Then, if they don't get their way immediately, they say you are just trying to win, despite never actually refuting your point or presenting a valid counterpoint.
Critical thinking. Have your own thoughts about things that are happening or that you hear about. Connect ideas together, just for fun. Compare facts with other facts. Critical thinking is when you don't simply take what you receive at face value. People seeing things that you aren't overthinking, they're simply thinking their own thoughts. They might be wrong, but it's good to practice anyway. Better than underthinking. Way better than taking everything at face value.
Putting library books back on the shelf you took them from. It's often better to leave them neatly on a return cart, on a table, or at the front desk depending on your library. We scan books that are used without checkout to add them to our circulation statistics. It helps us prove traffic and learn which items engage the community. Flagging items as used in-house doesn't require identifying information either. It's anonymous. My mom is trying to take money from me that doesn't belong to her. I just got a nice sum of money from a lawsuit, I got hit by a car, and now my mom wants to keep all of it because she doesn't trust me. I'm 18, I've been saving up to move out, and I want to use the $20,000 to pay rent in a new city. My mother is trying every trick in the book to make sure that money goes to her and not to me, calling the lawyer, questioning my competence, explaining that she has the better bank, etc. She keeps insisting I'm going to go on a shopping spree with it all, even though I'm sure that's exactly what she would do with it. It's so frustrating because she won't let up, and I just need to know how to get her to leave me alone. Should I just let her take some of the money and hope she's honest about putting it in savings? Edit. Thanks for the advice, everyone. I've decided to go to a financial advisor to figure out the best way to save and invest it. I will not be touching the money for rent or anything. I told my mother my plan, and she was pissed. I told her I wasn't giving any of it to her, and she said, "We'll see about that." Don't worry though, I have no fears about her getting access to it. She was never attached to my bank account in the first place, and she uses a completely different bank. She used to steal my checks, facepalm. While I wanted to get out of this house as soon as possible and had hoped the money would be my golden ticket out, I will be saving up until school starts in the fall. You guys were right, if I used it for rent, it would be gone, and I might be screwed. Him and the baby ruined my life, so I ruined Thanksgiving. I used to be creative, full of life, with dreams and goals. Now, I can't even think anymore. My brain has turned into mom mode only, and I hate it. I want my life back. Everyone tells me I'm such a good mom. No surprise there, I basically raised my siblings, so I had plenty of practice. But that doesn't mean I'm not struggling every single day. And my husband? Considering he was the one who really wanted a kid, he should be putting in way more effort. Instead, he hides behind his job as an excuse, like I'm not working 20 more hours a week than him, on top of breastfeeding, taking care of the house, dealing with his family and friends, and still being expected to have sex with him. Last month, without even asking me, he invited over his friends and family for Thanksgiving, about 12 people. I had already told him I was short on my personal bills and my share of rent, and that I didn't have extra money for food. He just laughed and said I'd figure it out. He can go straight to hell. I called his parents, texted his friends, and canceled everything. I had to work until 2 p.m. on Thanksgiving anyway, so why rush home to cook for his ungrateful ass with a baby on my hip? So this year, for Thanksgiving dinner, I'll be treating myself to a full night of sleep, for the first time in a year. Entitled woman thinks her grandchild is her second chance. I have lurked in the entitled parents subreddit and thought some of the entitlement was just legends. No way could a person feel entitled to another's baby. I was wrong. My sister called me, distraught and livid, to discuss if there was anything we could do to help my niece, 20. She's a young new mother. At the beginning of her pregnancy, she shared the news with family, including her boyfriend's mother. Apparently, that relationship was already strained. The boyfriend's mother was an alcoholic and a difficult mother to have, according to her son. The first thing this crazy woman said, in so many words, was how this was a sign from God that her future grandchild was giving her another chance because she could no longer have children. She really said this. After so much drama from his mother, they decided to go no contact. The day came for my niece to have her baby, and it went smoothly, especially without any entitled toxicity. You'd think that would be the end of that, right? Not so much. My niece came home after being introduced to motherhood for just one day. Child services were waiting for her. They had received an anonymous call claiming my niece partied all the time, drank, did drugs, etc. Enough lies were reported to send them as quickly as she was released from the hospital. It was obvious this was the work of his mother. My niece released her medical records to provide proof that she had a clean drug screening. They routinely screen both mother and child, likely for insurance reasons. I've heard of this before, it's standard. Aside from making a vague police report, as advised, nothing could be done. He's a beautiful baby boy, 3 months old now. His smile is adorable, and at times, I see my sister in him. My niece is a good mom too. Now, her boyfriend's evil mother posts any photos she can get a hold of from other profiles of the baby on social media, which low-key pisses me off. I suppose never holding him and not being allowed in his life is a good enough punishment. Not a single photo will ever be posted of her in the same picture as the baby. I wish I was posting this in a revenge sub, but alas, the tale of the haggard woman who will never see her first grandson belongs here, with the rest of the low-life entitled parents. My entitled mother thinks she's moving in with me and my partner abroad. This conversation happened at my grandmother's funeral wake. My mother was holding her plate of food when she sat down next to my aunt and me on the couch. She looked very smug and kept smirking at people, acting as if she was better than them. Turns out, she had somehow convinced herself that she would be moving to another country with me, my partner, and our kids. Since my grandmother had passed away, she thought she had no more responsibilities holding her back. She had even gone around telling people how she would be living a lavish, retired lifestyle in a rich Scandinavian country for free, without having to lift a single finger. Then, she looked at me and loudly asked, "So when does my flight leave?" I asked her what the hell she meant by that, and she just as loudly said, "You know, our flight back to your husband's country so I can live luxuriously like you promised me." I promised her nothing. In fact, the only promise I ever made was that I would never talk to her again once I flew back. And since I am completely incapable of sugarcoating things, I bluntly told her. That is never going to happen, because I am not stupid enough to bring your dangerous ass around my children. The face crack of the century, let me tell you. My aunt and the rest of the room cackled. She sat there for a moment, probably thinking she had misheard me. Then she asked again. So I repeated it, loud and clear. You are not moving in with me, and you can erase that idea from your brain. You are a dangerous, lazy, greedy person, and I am not about to introduce that type of energy to my children. She lost it. She threw a tantrum, yelling and shouting about how she was entitled to move in with me and be taken care of by the family. I argued back that unless she was willing to find a place to stay on her own, get a job, learn a new language, actually work again, then she would not survive in that country, because I have kids to take care of, and I am not about to take time and energy away from them to cater to her lazy ass. She went completely silent after that and refused to speak to me for the rest of the evening. Fine by me. Fine by everyone else. They just had a good time giggling at how delusional she was. My husband of 34 years cheated on me with our daughter's 18-year-old best friend. My husband, 58 male, and I, 56 female, have been married for 34 years. We have 4 daughters together, all of whom have become successful and started families of their own, except for our youngest, Annie, who is 17. We had her 16 years after our first child. Annie still lives with us, as she is a senior in high school. Annie is very popular and often has friends over on the weekends and after school. Her best friend, Bailey, who is 18, is almost always at our house. Bailey has built a strong relationship with both my husband and me. She comes to church with us most Sunday mornings and often joins us for family gatherings. About a month ago, I started noticing that Bailey and my husband would frequently watch movies together on the weekends after Annie had fallen asleep. At first, I did not think much of it, but as it continued almost every weekend for over a month, I began feeling uneasy. One night, I even walked into the living room and saw my husband cuddling with my daughter's friend on our couch. 2 days ago, I asked Annie about the situation. She had no idea this was happening and said she planned to tell Bailey how uncomfortable it made her. Annie also informed me that Bailey had a history of trying to manipulate men. She had previously gotten another friend's father alone and talked badly about his wife in an attempt to lure him into sleeping with her. Today, I finally got up the courage to check my husband's phone. I know it is an invasion of privacy, but my instincts told me something was wrong. The first thing I checked was his messages. I found a conversation with Bailey. The first message I saw from my husband read, "I can't wait to do it again next weekend," followed by a winking emoji. Bailey responded, "I can't wait till you are out of that place and we can do it every day." I have not confronted my husband or my daughter about this yet. On one hand, I do not want to jump to conclusions and destroy 34 years of marriage. On the other hand, I do not want to ruin my daughter's friendship or her reputation at school. I want to confront my husband, but I also do not want to turn my daughter's life upside down. What should I do? I've manipulated my husband by strategically sleeping with him for more than 20 years. I have been married for nearly 30 years. Many years ago, I realized something about my husband's weekend routine. If I got up in the morning and went about my day doing whatever needed to be done, like making breakfast, taking care of the kids, cleaning, etc., my husband would just stay in bed all day watching TV. If I suggested taking the kids somewhere, going shopping, hiking, hanging out with friends, or literally anything, he would say that he had worked hard all week and just wanted to relax, so we would end up doing nothing all weekend long. But I discovered that if I started the morning by sleeping with him, shortly after we were done, he would get up, take a shower, and be ready to go conquer the world. So, I started planning accordingly. If I wanted a lazy day at home, I would just get up and do my own thing. But if I wanted to go out and do something, I would make sure to sleep with him first thing in the morning. I know I am intentionally manipulating him, and honestly, I do not care, because he gets what he wants, and so do I.
I'm questioning our future because we can't agree on expenses. I, 21 male, and my boyfriend, 23 male, have been together since 2023, almost 2 years now, and live in London. I love him a lot, but there's one thing that's been bothering me and is starting to make me question our future together. We're planning to move in together by the end of 2026, but we can't agree on how to split expenses. He wants to do 50-50, even though he makes almost double what I do and has fewer expenses. He lives close to work, so he has no transport costs, while I would have them if we moved in together. I've tried explaining that a proportional split feels fairer, but he won't accept it. This has been an issue since we started dating. I'm always the one to bring it up, but he never initiates the conversation and shuts it down whenever I try to talk about it. It feels like he's avoiding it, and that's been really frustrating. For me, a relationship only makes sense if we're building a future together, including marriage. But if we can't even agree on something as simple as how to split expenses, I'm not sure we'll be able to move in together, and that makes me question our future marriage plans. Has anyone been through something similar? Is it possible to work through this, especially when one person avoids the topic? Or is this a sign that our values might not align? I could really use some advice. I got a paternity test on my son, behind my wife's back. 2 years ago, we had a baby boy, and from the moment he was born, I felt like something was off. It was obvious. Our child did not look like us. Now, I understand that children do not always resemble their parents right away, and that you have to wait to see how they develop. But this was different. My son was blonde, had blue eyes, and a very fair skin complexion. I am Mexican, and my wife is Colombian. We both have slightly darker skin tones. Think Salma Hayek's complexion. We both have dark brown eyes and dark brown or black hair. Not only that, but both of our parents also have dark hair and brown eyes, with the exception of my mother, who has hazel eyes. All of our grandparents have dark hair, brown skin, and dark eyes. How is my child blonde, blue-eyed, and fair-skinned? People reassured me that many babies are born with blue or gray eyes that darken over time, and that their skin and hair can change dramatically. So, I waited it out and assumed the child was mine. But now, after 2 years, his eyes are even more blue, his hair is even blonder, and his skin is even lighter. He still does not look like us. I started getting comments, jokes about how he must be the mailman's son, weird looks from people, and even strangers questioning if he was mine. One time, at a park, someone directly asked if the child I was playing with was actually my son. My wife is constantly asked if she is his nanny. It made me angry. My wife never thought it was a big deal. She would brush it off, saying people were just joking, but I knew some people genuinely believed I was raising another man's child. It started to wear on me. I had no reason to think my wife cheated, other than our son's appearance. But it was eating me up inside, so I secretly took my son for a paternity test without telling my wife. Well, it turns out he is 100% mine. I was so relieved that I wanted to show the results to everyone who had ever made a comment or joke about him not being mine. That night, I casually asked my wife if she would have been mad if I had gotten a paternity test when our son was born. She was deeply offended that I would even consider that she had cheated. She told me it would have seriously affected our relationship, knowing that I did not trust her. I played it off as a joke, but deep down, I knew she was right. I had no real reason to doubt her other than the way our son looked. Now, instead of doubt, I am consumed with guilt. I feel like an insecure asshole. I do not know if I should tell her or keep this locked away forever. What is something your father said to you that you will never forget?
I talked a lot as a kid, and still do. My sister used to complain that I talked too much, saying it was weird how I even talked to strangers like I knew them. My dad told me to never stop talking to people, to never stop making connections, because in the long run, connecting with others is all that matters.
When I was 16, my brother and I used to fight a lot. We'd beat the shit out of each other constantly. Then, our uncle passed away. It was the first time I ever saw the toughest man I know cry. Our dad sat us both down and told us we needed to end it, find some common ground, and at least try to get along. That moment broke me. Now at 40, my brother is my best friend. I don't know how I'd do life without the little fucker.
He said, I want you to be with a man because you want to, not because you have to. I hated college. Every day felt like a struggle, and the only reason I stuck with it was because my dad wouldn't let me quit. My mom, on the other hand, told me to drop out, insisting it was okay if I was just too dumb for college. But my dad pushed me. He had 2 sisters who stayed in abusive marriages because they had no education, no job experience, and no way out. He refused to let that be my future. He wanted me to choose a partner out of love, not survival.
The time you spend punishing yourself for a mistake, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 months, doesn't change what happened. The only difference is how long you let it haunt you. When an embarrassing memory pops up, remind yourself that it doesn't matter. Nobody remembers it but you. Then shift your focus. Try recalling the steps and measurements of your favorite recipe. Imagine yourself sailing a massive wooden ship at sea. Every time the thought resurfaces, redirect it. With practice, it'll become automatic.
It wasn't just what my dad said, it was how he did it. I was bullied a lot during my freshman year of high school. When I told my mom, she gave me the usual, just ignore them, speech. But my dad? He stormed in like a coach before the championship game. Every morning before school, he'd give me the most intense pep talks. If the Rocky theme had started playing in the background, it wouldn't have felt out of place. By mid-year, he had basically become my personal hype man. We'd be in the car, and he'd yell, "Who runs this school?" And I'd shout back, "Me." By sophomore year, I walked in like a celebrity doing a surprise drop-in. Shoulders back, chin up, full main character energy. So, shout out to my dad for turning my freshman flop era into a sophomore-level slay. Moral of the story? Never underestimate the power of a dedicated hype man. And if you ever doubt yourself, just remember, somewhere out there, there's a dad telling his kid, "You are the Beyoncé of this school." And he's probably right. Update, I showed this thread to my dad while he was visiting for the weekend, along with all the kind responses. We both teared up, the good kind of tears, while having some drinks and reminiscing about all those times, 20 years ago, when he'd tell me, "Now, walk in there and act like your shit doesn't stink." My husband chimed in and said, "You created a monster. She's still like that." And without missing a beat, my dad grinned and said, "I know. That was the point. My father-in-law's girlfriend demands my debit card." A while back, my father-in-law's truck broke down, and he started giving my husband all his cards so we could shop for him and deliver what he needed. Eventually, my father-in-law got a new girlfriend. She moved in with him immediately because she was homeless at the time. Everything had been fine until she relapsed into alcoholism. At that point, my kids and I stopped going over there. Recently, my father-in-law got a new truck. Before we even had the chance to take his cards back or meet up to return them, his girlfriend started texting and harassing us, saying she was going to come pick up our debit card. Her reasoning? Since we had their cards for so long, we should trust them with ours too. No. That is not how it works. After a text message argument, my husband told her he would only talk to his dad from now on and would not be responding to her anymore. She imploded and demanded that we give her our debit card. We blocked her number. So, she texted us from my father-in-law's phone to continue the fight, telling us that she will come get our card and go shopping with it, saying she does not need our permission. If they were struggling and had asked politely, I would have been happy to help. But I am not. My family is crazy. My parents forbade me from getting a haircut my whole childhood. I cut it as an adult and my mom judged me for it. I was forced to have very long hair. I was told it was because my mother said her mother forced her to keep her hair short, and she claimed it traumatized her. I honestly felt like Rapunzel with my long blonde hair and not being allowed to change it. When I was a teenager, I told my mom that I was sick of my long hair and wanted a change. She said absolutely not. As an adult, I decided to get my hair cut and donate it to charity. My mom crapped all over the idea, saying I was going to regret it and have a mental breakdown over the change. I didn't have enough money for a car, so I needed a ride. I asked my mom to drive me, and she refused. So, I got my dad to take me instead. She acted like I was going to get an abortion. She was so unhappy. When I got home with my new hair, she never once gave me a compliment. She barely even looked at me. I loved my new hair too much to care what she thought, but it was shocking for a woman in her 60s to be this petty just because I chose to do something for myself. She thinks she owns my hair. I wonder if she never said anything about my hair because she was mad she was wrong and that I had no regrets. Everyone else liked my hair. My dad wasn't happy with the idea at first, but he grew to accept it. What's the most out-of-touch thing you've heard someone say?
I was at a work event, just making small talk with some guys from another department when the conversation turned to housing prices. I mentioned that I was trying to save up for a down payment, but it was slow going. One of the execs, probably mid-50s, laughed and said, "Man, when I bought my first house, it was so easy. I just asked my dad to co-sign the loan and front me the down payment." I told him that wasn't really an option for me, and he looked genuinely confused. "What do you mean? Your parents won't just give you the money?" Like, yeah, let me just go home and ask my mom, who works 2 jobs, to spot me a casual $100,000.
Just purchase the place you're renting so you turn a profit and don't waste your money, said the CEO of my job, who was collecting a government pension and pulling in 2 part-time salaries from the positions he held. When I asked how I was supposed to afford that, he looked at me and asked, "Am I not paying you enough?" I said no. He left my office.
When my daughter was little, we were in a Target-type store, and she had a helium balloon. Of course, she let it go. Now she's upset and wants her daddy to get it back. My wife is laughing as I keep backing up, running, and leaping to grab the ribbon. I'm 6 feet 2 inches, but no matter what, it's just out of reach. I tell my wife to stop laughing because if she makes me laugh, I'm done for sure. Maybe on my 8th or 9th try, just as I'm about to jump again, my little girl says, completely serious, "Daddy, just jump higher." That was it for me. Got the store to help and walked away mumbling. Why didn't I think of that? Just jump higher. 32 years later, my wife and I still say that to each other whenever we're trying to figure something out.
One of my friends ended a 3-year relationship after her boyfriend cheated on her. Another friend, who had never been in a relationship before, tried to sympathize by saying she knew exactly how she felt, because she had recently broken up with a guy she went on 4 dates with. She did similar things with me too, like trying to relate to my trauma by saying, "One time I hooked up with an ugly guy and was embarrassed about it the next day," same thing. Just a complete lack of empathy and an inability to comprehend that her experiences were nowhere near the same as others.
This was at a wedding I attended in my 20s. The groom grew up with 4 homes, 1 internationally. After he and his brother moved out, their parents built another home, a 10-bedroom mansion, each room with its own full bathroom, right on the edge of a golf course. It had a gym, wine cellar, sauna, full bar, pool table, roulette table, poker table, and somehow a golf simulator inside the house, despite literally living on a golf course. A couple of direct quotes from people at our table, just to set the scene. I'm planning on buying my wife an airplane. I proposed to my girlfriend at a castle I rented in Europe. I think my next plastic surgery will be XYZ. The bridal party took a 3-minute limo ride to the clubhouse where the wedding was held. The ceremony featured a 15-minute fireworks show. Whole thing probably cost $500,000. Then, during dinner, one of the parents gave a speech and actually said, "I'm so proud of these 2. They've had nothing handed to them in life, and have worked so hard to get to where they are today." I still haven't picked my jaw up off the floor.
My family is mad I didn't tell them I was buying a house. My husband and I bought our first home a few months ago. I told very few people, one friend and only a few coworkers since I had to miss work for appointments. My grandparents knew because I was living with them at the time while my husband, who had just gotten out of the military, and I, were saving up before purchasing. For context, my grandparents raised me, so they're like my parents. I thought I had a pretty good relationship with my mom. We've had our issues, but overall, it was decent. I was waiting to share the news until after the funding went through, everything was moved in, and the house was settled. My belongings had been in storage for over a year, and I was worried things would be ruined. However, my mom called my grandma about something, and for whatever reason, my grandma told her I had bought the house. I was upset with my grandma but forgave her. My mom, on the other hand, blew up. She said, "I am your mother, and I have a right to know these things." I told her, and my sister and stepfather, who were all against me, that it wasn't their business. I explained that I had planned to wait until everything was perfect so I could then invite them over to see it. She was also angry because my grandma mentioned that I didn't want her bringing all her dogs to my house. For context, my mom has at least 8, maybe more, indoor dogs, and my dog doesn't get along with hers. The argument escalated to the point where we all ended up blocking each other. She was also mad that my mother-in-law had been to the house. My mother-in-law lives 20 minutes away, while my mom is in another state a few hours away. I had asked my brother-in-law to help hang a TV, so my mother-in-law tagged along. It wasn't like I hosted a dinner or something. I thought this whole thing was ridiculous from the start. Am I wrong, though? I understand she wants to be part of big milestones, but she and the rest of them acted entitled to know. When I pointed that out, they told me, "You have no idea what entitlement means. You have so much to learn. How would you move past this? Would you even try? My marriage is over." I, 31 female, found out that my husband, 34 male, had been having an affair for nearly a year and a half. We have a son who was born in summer 2020. I also had 2 miscarriages, one in December 2021 and another in April 2022. Those losses completely broke me, and I put up a wall around myself. Because of this, we basically lived as roommates for about 5 or 6 months. Before that, our marriage had its rough patches, but we always worked through them. I guess this time was just too much. He ended up connecting with someone on Facebook. He said he loved the attention I wasn't able to give him. I always had suspicions, but I defended him, believing he would never cheat. Well, never say never. Are there people here who have been through something similar? How did you get through it? What helped? I can't focus on TV or music, I just smoke cigarette after cigarette and cry. Today, I booked a trip for me and my son from this afternoon until Monday. I just want to give him a good time. Seeing him and realizing that we failed as a family makes me so sad. I started therapy in February 2023, mostly to process the miscarriages, but my therapist has been helping me through everything else too. She's been a great support. I'm afraid I'll never be happy again. My father took his own life in December 2022, and I don't want to follow in his footsteps, but I've seen what depression looks like, and I feel like I can't find happiness. The "we listen and we don't judge" trend led my husband to reveal a cruel 2-year prank. How could I trust him again? My husband, 38 male, saw TikTok videos about couples saying, "We listen and we don't judge," then revealing something bad or funny they do behind their partner's back. He pressured me, 24 female, to participate, saying he had something very funny to admit, but insisted I go first to justify his. When it was his turn, he confessed that he intentionally sabotaged my computer a few years ago, making it slow and almost unusable. Back in 2022, my computer suddenly started running terribly, and I could never figure out why. I used it primarily for school and playing online games with my siblings, since I don't live near them anymore. Now, I can barely browse the internet, let alone play games. I couldn't afford a new computer because only I am working right now. He admitted that fixing it would only take him a minute or two, but he never wanted to, because, in his words, I should spend all my time with him, and he didn't like that I played games a few times a week. I feel completely betrayed, and I'm struggling to believe anything he says now. If he did this, what else has he done to manipulate me? How do people generally get over betrayals of trust like this? I don't know how to get my mind off it or how to stop feeling so distrustful. We've been married for 6 years, but now I'm questioning everything. I gaslight my husband when we fight. This isn't anything crazy, just something funny that I want to tell people about but can't risk getting caught. My husband, 30 male, and I, 30 female, have been together for 8 years. For the past couple of years, I've been making him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day to take to work. I use Welch's Concord grape jelly, this is important for later. Every day, he tells me I make the best sandwiches, and I always just say, I make it with love. However, when we're fighting, he always says he can taste the difference in his PB&J, and I respond with, that's because I made it with hate. But the truth is, he can taste the hate in his sandwich because when we're fighting, I use organic, sugar-free grape jam. It's hidden in the back of the fridge, and he's never seen it, so it's my little way of convincing him that he can't make me mad, or else my anger makes food taste different. Like I said, this isn't anything crazy, but it's something I always get a giggle out of and thought all of you would too. A hot guy hit on me, and my husband responded with fart lore. A very attractive man hit on me today. I'm 34 female and was working alone in my store when he walked in. He wasn't just objectively good-looking, he was like, movie star good-looking. Tall, amazing smile, great voice, and had this natural, effortless confidence. He was funny too. Made me laugh, and it felt nice. I felt beautiful and desirable in a way I haven't in a long time. I told my husband about it later. I wasn't trying to make him jealous, I was just being honest about how it happened and how it made me feel a little giddy. My husband, 35 male, looked at me, completely straight-faced, and said, "Did you tell him about the time I sharted so hard I thought I had internal bleeding?" I lost it. Laughed until I had tears in my eyes. I genuinely forgot about hot guy almost instantly. Anyway, I love that man. His chaos keeps me grounded. I caught my boyfriend taking a number 2 in his hand. I, 26 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 36 male, for 2 years. A few days ago, I was at his apartment and needed to grab my allergy medication from the bathroom. The door wasn't locked, so I figured it was fine to walk in. What I saw was something I'll never forget. He was squatting on the floor, holding a wad of toilet paper under his butt. I screamed and ran out immediately. 5 minutes later, he called me. There was no denying what I saw, so he came clean. He said he does this to avoid making noise when using the toilet because he's shy about me hearing him poop. He insisted it's just something he does to be quiet and that it's no big deal. I'm honestly still freaked out. I don't know how to feel about this. It's bizarre and not something I ever imagined I'd have to deal with in a relationship. Am I overreacting?
Life pro tips. If you answer the phone and the police tell you a loved one has passed away, don't be the messenger. 20 years ago, I was home from college. Most of the family went out for brunch, but I wasn't feeling it, so I stayed back. I answered the house phone, and it was the sheriff. He told me my uncle had died of a self-inflicted gunshot injury. I was shaking as I took down the information. Thinking I would be a softer messenger, I decided to tell the family myself when they returned. It's a day burned into my memory. We all took it hard, but I was the one who delivered the news. Looking back, I realize the police are trained for this. They not only deliver the news professionally, but also provide resources and support. I now think I should have left the house, taken a walk, and let the professionals handle it. I honestly believe it changed my relationship with those family members, and not for the better.
Entitled Mom wants me to change a birthday party so her kid can attend. My kid's birthday party is this weekend. This mom had already RSVP'd, yes, that her kid would attend. I got a text 3 nights ago asking if I could change the date of the party because he now has a soccer game he has to play in. He's 10 years old, definitely not D1 or pro. Sure, I'm going to call all the other parents and the party venue to adjust to your schedule despite your previous commitment. I managed to respond with a polite decline, and yet she still came back with another date that would work for them. I left her on red.
What is the craziest reason you've heard for a breakup/divorce?
A couple I knew had a disagreement about whether they were called chickpeas or garbanzo beans. Neither party could believe that both were names for the same thing, so they broke up.
Someone's wife was sensitive to fluorescent light bulbs, but the husband kept insisting on having them to save the environment. He would change out the incandescent bulbs when she was asleep multiple times. She got sick of it and filed for divorce.
A stepdad wanted to divorce his wife if she didn't make her kid from a previous marriage magically biologically his. And no, he didn't mean adopt the child. The dude really thought you could change a kid's genetics to be his own.
There was this local lawyer who specialized in silver divorces, i.e., divorces for older people. When interviewed, he was asked about the oldest person he had arranged a divorce for. He said it was a 93-year-old man. When he asked the man why he wanted to divorce so late in life, he said, "Because I want to die in peace."
An acquaintance from back in my army days divorced her husband because he could not stop buying collectible GI action figures. It was a full-on addiction that he was hiding from her. He bankrupted them and had amassed a collection of $150,000 that he tried to hide from her.
A girl I was in a relationship with for 2 years decided we are not compatible because zodiac signs and her astrology specialist friend told her so. This happened back in the early 2000s. She changed her mind after some time and approached me again. We had a few talks, and I decided to give it another chance. Well, long story short, after a couple of months of dating again, she randomly declined going out together because a gypsy fortune teller/palm reader told her that it wasn't a good day to go out with her man. She ended it immediately, and frankly, that was one less thing for me to worry about.
My husband fell out of love with me after I got pregnant. He treated me differently but insisted he still loved me. I lost all the baby weight, worked full-time, and took care of everything, but he stayed short-tempered and distant. He wasn't in love with me, he loved my utility. I paid most of our bills and handled almost everything for him and our daughter. It took a decade and 3 affairs before I finally left him. I'm devastated after his drunken betrayal. Last night, my boyfriend, 26 male, attended his work Christmas party and had quite a bit to drink. I, 27 female, ended up going to meet him and his colleagues because he really wanted to introduce me to them. We had a few arguments beforehand, but I eventually went. Everyone was already drunk by the time I got there. I had driven him to the party, and the plan was that I'd meet him there and we'd head home together after he made sure everyone else got home safely. He's their manager and wanted to be responsible. He introduced me to a coworker he always says he can't stand, the one he calls Miss Know-It-All. At one point, I sat outside with a few of his coworkers and started chatting with this girl. I was polite, even though I had this weird gut feeling. She seemed really nervous and awkward. Later, she got up to smoke, and one of the other guys leaned over and said, "You're being so nice, considering everything." I asked him what he meant. He looked confused and said, "You know, what happened between her and my boyfriend a few months ago?" I was stunned. My heart dropped. I said I had no idea what he was talking about. He went quiet and said, "Oh shit." Turns out, they had kissed at a work event months ago. My boyfriend told everyone she had kissed him, that it meant nothing, and that I already knew and forgave him. But I didn't. I confronted him later that night and he admitted it. He claimed it didn't mean anything, that they were both drunk, and that it was a stupid mistake. He begged me to understand. The worst part? He had been lying to everyone, including me, for months. He let me walk into that situation with no clue. I felt so humiliated, like the last person in the room to find out the truth. I left. I went to stay with my sister. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I feel absolutely gutted. This wasn't just a drunken mistake, it was months of deception. Update. I messaged the girl's boyfriend and told him where she was and what she was saying about him. She called me petty and pathetic. At 7:15 a.m., my boyfriend messaged me saying he's home and loves me and will see me tonight. I won't be returning. After the holidays, I'll go back to remove myself permanently. I can't tolerate the disrespect anymore.
My husband disappeared in Vegas and spent thousands at a strip club. I, 28 female, woke up at 2 a.m. to find my husband, 34 male, missing. His location turned off, and thousands in charges from a strip club on our bank account. My husband and I booked a last-minute getaway to Vegas for a couple of nights. We arrived yesterday. We had tickets to see a show last night, but after a long day of drinking in the heat, I wasn't feeling well and needed to end the night early. I encouraged my husband to still go so he could enjoy his evening. I went to sleep. At 2 a.m., I woke up to find that he never came back to the room. The show was literally at our hotel, so I started to panic. I checked his location. It was off. I texted him asking where he was. He read it and didn't respond. I called him several times, and he sent me to voicemail. While I was trying to reach him, I saw 2 separate charges for over $1,000 each from a strip club. He didn't respond until nearly 3 a.m., just texting that he was on his way back. 30 minutes later, he stumbled into the room absolutely obliterated. He tried to lie and say he was just gambling down the strip, that he never went to a strip club, even though the charges were made with Apple Pay and he hadn't lost his phone. After going through his receipts, I found he had been at the strip club for nearly 5 hours, confirming he went straight from the show and left about 40 minutes after my first, "Where are you?" text. I checked all our accounts, and if all the charges settle as they are, he'll have spent nearly $6,000 there. He swears he didn't cheat and says nothing sexual happened, though I can only imagine the situations you find yourself in after 5 hours at a strip club while extremely drunk. I feel like I'll never truly know what happened, and that alone is the most painful part. We flew home a day early, and I have no idea where to go from here. We've been together for 7 years and married for almost 4 years. As far as I was aware, we were in a great place in our marriage, and there haven't been any past issues with infidelity. This is completely out of character. I'm absolutely crushed and deeply disappointed. He was reckless with our money, my trust, and our marriage, and it really hurts. The fact that we were on a solo trip together, and instead of coming back to me or doing literally anything else, he chose to go to a strip club says everything.